we're back with another episode of SNEED-CAST. I'm Alexa, your host, and today our Vice President of Technical Services, Charles Collins, is going to be giving us some insights of what it's like to start off, progress, and work within the coding and marking industry. So, without further ado, how did you get started in coding and marking?
Well, actually, it was by chance. I had decided to change careers, and in my previous career, I'd come across a gentleman that had been in the industry for a few years. He'd come from a different industry and had lots of great things to say. I had no idea that coding and marking really existed. I mean, other than when I went and bought milk, I looked for the expiration date. Next thing I know, I stumbled through the door, and well, here I am 14, almost 15 years later. And it's taken me all over the country and seen lots of different parts of the world. So it was definitely a step in a different direction, and for me, a much better direction.
So you mentioned that you've been within the industry for the past 14 to 15 years. Within those years, what are some of the positions that you've had, and then what are some of the technologies that you have worked with?
Well, as I said earlier, when I moved over into the industry, I came in as a technical service apprentice. So I was put in a room where they lined me up with old CIJ continuous inkjet printers, video jets, and I spent all day rebuilding and working on those, and worked into becoming a service technician up until the point where an opportunity came along to go to be trained at a OEM facility for thermal inkjet technology, TIJ. And so I was trained by a manufacturer, and that's where I started to cut my teeth into this. So that's and from there, while I was learning about those different technologies and was trained on by the OEM in thermal inkjet, I actually went out and began working on different different printer types, Videojet, Domino, Mark-on-Mage, drop-on-demand technologies, microjets, and things like that. So I've gotten to work on quite a few different things and see them in applications all over the country and all over the world.
So you mentioned that the preferred printing technology here at SNEED Coding Solutions is thermal inkjet. Is there a reason for that?
We prefer to keep things simple. So, and thermal inkjet technology is one of the most simple technologies available for especially beginning and mid-level customers. It's more or less maintenance-free, requires some cartridge care, but other than that, it's a very easy technology for people to get started with, and we found that it covers many of the applications that the other technologies do with a lot of simplicity, time-saving, cost-saving, and it allows us to be able to assist and help our customers not only face-to-face but remotely because of this. Again, it's a very easy technology for the customers to understand and deal with, and for us to assist them with. So
you told us about some of the benefits of thermal inkjet technology. Is there another reason why we don't offer different printing technologies here at SNEED?
Well, one of our big things, our motto is keep coding simple. And again, so we want to make sure that as we're providing solutions to our customers, that we're offering them the easiest, simplest solution. There are technologies out there that thermal inkjet is better at other things, and there are some things that it doesn't do great. So there are other technologies available. Thermal inkjet does not fit each and every application, but the technology has continued to grow in my time in the business and is still continuing to grow. So whereas years ago, whenever a thermal inkjet would not be able to do the same job as a continuous inkjet or CIJ, now we've got inks that will stick to a lot of the things that it wouldn't in the past. We have a throw distance, the distance that the unit will spit the ink out so it'll reach the bottom of a can, where it wouldn't do that in the past. So there's a lot of things that have developed over the last few years that have helped it to become far more competitive in a lot more industries, reducing the cost of operation, the need for hazardous chemical disposal and things like that in other industries. And in the words of a lot of the maintenance engineers and service technicians that I work with, it simplified things for them and made life a lot easier.
So I know you mentioned continuous inkjet technology. Can you tell me some of the differences between continuous inkjet and thermal inkjet?
Oh, definitely. So the continuous inkjet still has a large market share, and for reasons. There are some inks and specialized ink applications that don't fit into cartridges just yet. So for those applications, continuous inkjet may be a better fit. Some of the higher speed applications, your high-speed canning lines that are moving 1,000, 1,200 feet per minute, those would be applications where the CIJ would still be a better fit. But for a lot of companies out there where their production lines aren't moving that fast and they don't need those specialized inks, we now offer a much better variety and the ability to do that without having the extra added maintenance that goes along with continuous inkjet. So with our cartridge technology, there's no real moving pumps or diaphragms or anything like that, no parts that are really going to wear out over time. It's electronics and a cartridge that's designed to empty out the ink without the need for extra little parts or pumps that are going to wear out over time. Continuous inkjet, you need a regular service contract. You need to make sure that you're maintaining it on a regular schedule, much like you would with your car. Both of them have a really good purpose, but as we move forward with our technology, the great thing is continuous inkjet hasn't changed a whole lot. They repackaged it and made it look different, a little prettier. But other than that, it hasn't evolved over the years to do anything more. Whereas with the thermal inkjet, we've evolved to be able to not just print on paper, to now print on plastic, metal, glass. We've evolved to be able to expand the size of our print head. So as opposed to having a very small print window, where CIJ, you've got a very limited size that you can print. With thermal inkjet, we can start to stack heads one on top of each other and reach larger print sizes. And one of the nice things for a lot of our customers, especially with the variability in packaging, they have multiple different packages that they've got to print on. And with continuous inkjet, you're stuck with a single color. So when we talk thermal inkjet, we can change out the cartridges and change over and swap colors in 10 to 30 seconds. So if you've got one package that you need to print black ink on, great, you can run your full production, and as opposed to having to pull over another machine or a completely different print technology to print on your black packages where you need white ink, now you just pop out a cartridge, pop in a new one, hit the go button, and you're ready to print. Changeover time is reduced for our manufacturers. The ability to accept multiple contracts and not have to spend $10,000, $20,000 on new equipment. They can order a different cartridge color and they're ready to go. So it's made a lot of waves in the industry, and I'm kind of happy about that.
So it sure sounds like TIJ is saving, our consumers a lot of money. Can you tell me a little bit about the cost between a TIJ and a CIJ?
Definitely. So the continuous inkjet is going to start off considerably more expensive. On the low end, you can find things under the $5,000 mark. Not that I would recommend that, but starting off, $5,000 and up. And then, of course, if you need color like white or yellow, you've got to get into pigmented printers, which you're at the $9,000 to plus $1,000, and so on. The average customer is going to on the investment of the CIJ upfront is more or less looking at about $10,000, even on the bottom end, because you've got to have a technician come out to install. There's a lot of upfront cost that goes along with it. And again, like I said, once you get into the more expensive equipment, the higher speeds, the pigmented printers, things like that, that number continues to increase, $15,000, $20,000 initial investment. And with thermal inkjet, at least with SNEED coating, we start off at about the $600 mark, with a nice little handheld device where somebody in their garage just starting off can start printing, and then they can print on their jars of whatever or their bags of whatever, up to the point where they grow and they need a production line, and still for around $1,000. You can now be printing on a production line and be doing thousands of pieces per hour. So the upfront cost initially is especially for our customers, is a considerable difference. The ongoing cost there again is another difference for them, because that, as I mentioned earlier, the continuous inkjet you need to maintain regularly, whereas with thermal inkjet, The printer itself is maintenance free. The cartridge is the only thing that you have to care for. And let me tell you, you can buy a lot of cartridges for one service call from on a continuous inkjet. So there's a considerable cost savings and for the end user, as well as the ease of operation and just the overall less headache to be able to go home at night and not have to worry about it.
Okay, Charles, so I know that you mentioned that with CIJ, there's a lot more moving parts, which means that you're going to need maintenance at some point. What does maintenance for CIJ look like compared to maintenance for TIJ?
Well, there's a considerable more maintenance on the continuous inkjet. Over time, you're going to have to change out pumps. You're going to have to change out diaphragms, ink lines, all kinds of different things. And when that printer goes down, there's no simple solution or simple fix. It's going to be down for a little while. So your high production customers, as I mentioned, that machine up front could be a $10,000 investment or more. They're going to have an extra printer on the side. So there's, again, more upfront investment to make sure that production line keeps going. With our print system, if there's an issue, more often than not, it happens to be in the cartridge. Just like changing out colors, like I said earlier, it's take out one cartridge, put another one in. That downtime is reduced to a few minutes, however long it takes to walk back and grab the spare cartridge out of the storage room, unless it happens to be sitting right there next to the printer. You're talking, a few minutes compared to potential hours or days if you can't get a service technician out. One of the things that I recommend to all my customers is, hey, make sure you have a spare cartridge on hand, if not 2 or 3. The main reason for that is we don't always know what's going to happen out there. Forklift could run into it. Somebody could decide to clean it with sandpaper. You have no idea what happens in a production environment, so the best thing is to be prepared for it. So also with the continuous inkjet, along with that maintenance, like I mentioned earlier, isn't normally service contracts or maintenance technicians coming out regularly to do service on your printer. So it's going to be offline and down during those times. So you've got to work that into your production schedule, as opposed to, again, with thermal inkjet, there's no scheduled maintenance or anything that has to be done. You change out a cartridge and that's your maintenance, you're done. And with continuous inkjet, while that's up and running and you're doing those changeovers, you also have to have, because a lot of the inks are hazardous materials, you've also got to dispose of that after washdowns and things like that. So there is a lot of costs, that most people don't even really consider when it comes into the maintenance and life of use of that type of equipment.
Okay. So we've talked a little bit about thermal inkjet and continuous inkjet, but can you tell us a little bit about drop-on-demand or DOD and valve jet technology?
Sure. Funny enough, thermal inkjet is actually DOD, drop on demand. And all that means is it doesn't sit there and spit out ink whenever you don't ask for it. Whereas continuous inkjet, it's in the name there, it's continuously circulating ink, which is one of the reasons why it requires so much extra maintenance. So with drop on demand, that's a designation for things that aren't going to spit out an ink drop until you ask for a print. Some of the older technologies are what are considered valve jet. Well, in the name there, you've got valves, moving parts that are open and closing to spit that out. It means you've got to have pressure, you're going to have pumps, you've got to have regulators, things like that, and electronics that are governing all of that equipment to work in conjunction to produce the dots for you. For a long time, very reliable technology, going to really require a little bit of maintenance, but it's also a little on the messy side. It's if you walk into a facility that's been using these for a while, traditionally there are ink stains on the conveyors, on the floors, leakages, and so drop on demand. You've got valve jet, you've got piezo technologies, you've got a few different technologies that fall into that, and they all kind of suffer some of the same ills, which is you've got to find some way to get the ink to that head, which again is going to be your pumps and diaphragms. So you've got more moving parts. They're going to require considerably more maintenance and considerably more mess.
So with valve jet technology, are you able to print logos and barcodes?
So valve jet technology is a lower resolution technology. So can you print logos? Very low res, or it's not something that most of us would want to see on the side of a packaging today. Whereas there are some drop-on-demand or higher res systems that do offer a higher resolution. and those are normally piezo-based, or there's a number of different manufacturers out there. But again, they run into a higher cost. Those systems, traditionally, they're not easy to change colors in, so you're kind of stuck to a singular color. But with that sort of high-res technology, again, you get into an exponential cost. Whereas we also, as thermal inkjet, would be considered high resolution. Our print systems are operating at 300 DPI and 600 DPI, which, when we're talking about barcodes and graphics, gives us nice smooth edges and clear lines, high readability and scannability for QR codes and data matrix and your 1D barcodes. It gives us a platform to be able to scale that up. And the nice thing about it is, within our technology, we're to help our customers, we're able to scale some of that DPI, which basically just allows the customer to save a little bit of money on ink. If they're just printing alphanumeric text, they don't need a super high resolution. But if they're printing graphics, or they're printing a QR code, they may want something that's got a little more resolution to it. So that's capable and just very switchable right there on the machine.
So you mentioned the cost of higher resolution print heads. Can you just expand a little bit about that compared to our print heads?
Yes. So our print heads start off at about 12.7 millimeters, or a half inch, and then we can stack those up. And then we've got our other systems, which start off at 25.4 millimeters, or 1 inch, and those are stackable. So we can reach a 2-inch print height and for about $1,500, and work our way up from there. And with thermal inkjet, there are systems out there where you can stack multiple print heads together and reach 3-5 inches and more, wide format printing and such. High-res print systems, so those will start off at about 3/4 of an inch, around 18 millimeters, and then they'll work their way up to 75 millimeters, 100 millimeters plus, 3 to 4 inches. But when we're starting off at $1,500 and working our way up from there, they're starting off at $3,000 or $4,000 for that 3/4 of an inch. But if you really wanted to get into 2 inches worth of print, or 3 inches worth of print, we're talking $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. And so you can imagine that you can buy multiples of our print systems and be printing all over everywhere that you want to. And you haven't even approached the cost of the single print system from those other manufacturers.
So thank you, Charles, for all of the great information that you gave us today. But for all of our viewers that are considering TIJ, what are some tips that you want to give them to make sure that this is the right fit for them?
Very good question. Because thermal inkjet technology, as I've said, has evolved to fit a lot more applications over the years. It still doesn't fit 100% of the applications out there, so those other technologies still have their place for now until we're able to take those over. But if a customer is considering thermal inkjet technology, some of the things that they want to take a look at are going to be, how fast is your production? If you're doing 1,000 feet a minute, no, we're not going to be the right fit for you right now. If we can't get within a half inch of the print surface, we may not be the right fit for you at this point in time. If you need a 5-inch print on the side of your box, no, we may not be the right fit for you. But if you're anything outside of those, we've got a lot of different solutions that would help you to solve those, help our customers to solve those problems. If when they're considering, what are they printing on? Where do they need to print at? Those sorts of things. We can fit a lot of those different things. So my best recommendation first is reach out to your printing and coding professional. Hopefully that happens to be SNEED Coding Solutions, and allow us the opportunity to make sure that it is the right fit for you. Because if it's not, we're going to be the first ones to let you know, because ultimately, your success as a manufacturer and consumer is our end goal. We're dedicated to our customer success, and we want to make sure that we are that we're always pointed in that direction. Because if we're not a fit right now, doesn't mean that we're not a fit in the future, and there's not going to be other technologies out there. So just make sure that when you're looking at the production process, that you have those questions, you understand what it is that you need, and if there are some questions that you don't have the answer to, that's what the experts are out here, like myself and the rest of the team, that can help you out with that.
Thank you, Charles, once again for all of the great information and tips that you gave us today. And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of SNEED-CAST. Like always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all of our great content. And make sure to keep an eye out for our newest success story that'll be coming out in a couple of weeks. We can't wait to share it with you all.